And welcome to the Milford Finance Committee, Wednesday, April 24th, 2019. First item on the agenda, the approval of the minutes for April 10th, 2019. Motion by Mike, second by Chuck. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? All right, we have a few budgets to finish up with and some articles. The first budget I'd like to look at is budget number 220, the Fire Department.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hey, guys. We never get both of you. This is
Oh, well,
special treat.
no, it's not training, it's just experience, so,
Uh-oh.
just saying,
People could look into that comment, chief.
When he talks like that.
Check your wallet.
All right, so with that being said, why don't we have the subcommittee give a quick report, and then we'll go to the chief. Aldo, you want to give a quick synopsis of your subcommittee?
Well, we met with the chief of public safety, and at that point in time, basically, we couldn't give you any kind of a recommendation on a number, simply because of the additions that the fire department needs, some of the equipment that they want to set up and fix, and of course, there's was it five, what was the number? 25,000 or 50,000 for the testing?
25.
25,000 for testing of all the offices, and at the time, there was no new contract. Is there still no contract?
They're negotiating.
So we're in that particular realm, so my position was, it was about a 6% increase, and that includes the new people, and you obviously have to get them trained and everything else, so here we are tonight, and I was ready to recommend that the percentage increase that he was requesting be granted, but evidently we need to.
Well, I wanted to commend it was a
Investigate it a little bit
significant investment that we're making in the community with these guys to support them, because some of the figures that they'll tell you tonight about calls, the amount of personnel that they have, I want the community to even hear this again, to reinforce again how important I think this commitment to the fire department and the added personnel is, and that's why I wanted to have them come in tonight. So, Chief, if you want to just expand upon what we're looking to do with personnel and equipment.
Sure, looking
upgrades.
back where it's been 35 years since we've increased staffing on the shift level. And that was basically when I started. Over the years, we've added an additional inspector, we've added a training officer, but we've never increased shifts. So we're the same number of guys that in 1983 were handling 1,200 calls, are now handling 5,500 calls. So it's really to the point where the town has grown, our call volume has grown, the population's grown. I don't even know what the daytime population of the town is, but I anticipate it's significant with a lot of people coming into town to work. So I propose to add 4 additional employees to the department, 1 on each shift. With that comes a slight increase in clothing allowance, because I have to clothe these people. There's also an additional $10,000 in there to buy additional gear, because when I came on, you used to get 1 set of gear, and it was usually hand-me-downs. Nowadays, with all the cancer and everything, you need to give these people 2 complete sets of gear, so when one's out being cleaned, they can wear another one. It's just the nature of the beast at this point. The screening part, going back to 2017, we had 10% of my department had cancer, was diagnosed with cancer. 2 of them had to retire. 1 had just retired, and he eventually passed away due to cancer. And another one had surgery, recovered, and has come back to work. So with that, in our line of work, there's a lot of push to get testing for the employees. I was at a seminar, I found a company that will come in, they will come to us, they're a Florida-based company, and for $500, roughly $550, per employee, they will screen you for basically every kind of cancer known to man. They will do a complete heart-lung workup. It's an amazing physical. At the seminar was an ER physician, and he said he can't order one of the tests that's listed for that price. So the $25,000 would get everybody from myself to the new hire screened. It provides a baseline, and we can go from there.
Yeah, at one of our meetings with the selectmen, the chief showed me the list of the things that they test for. It's 2 pages long. I mean, they test for everything under the world. And from a financial standpoint, which is the least significant, for a $500 test to save one of our firefighters from going on leave because of a sickness, obviously there's a financial benefit. I don't even consider that. I consider it more for, these are our townspeople. These are the people who run into the buildings when we're running out. And in order to make sure that they're safe and healthy doing the most dangerous job in our town, I think these tests are something, if we knew about it, we should have been doing it years ago, and I can't imagine not doing it in the future for them. I think it's a great program you're proposing, so.
If I just might
Yep.
add, one of the requests that the Finance Committee made was that expenses be zeroed out, so no increases. And they are, with the exception of a couple that you can't. If you have to re-equip an individual, that's going to appear as a plus. But at the bottom line is the bottom line. So basically, they've answered every question, and they followed all the guidelines. And this is always it has been in the fire department. Now, I've been with the fire department for a number of years. Their budgets are always the way they need to be, and the same holds true with public safety, with the police department. Their budgets are where they need to be. So I would,
So I'll open up for any questions for the fire. Yep.
Now, didn't we add somebody a couple years ago?
One last year,
Last year.
a second inspector,
That was an inspector.
correct?
Now, this increase is, what, $500,000, or how much to add 4 people?
296, that's the whole budget, 296 increase,
But that's just your budget.
correct,
That doesn't include health benefits and all that other.
correct.
So it's probably closer to 400,000 or 500,000. I just want to make sure we understand, because
Yes.
we added 4 last year.
For
to-
police, yeah.
For police, now we're adding, so we just got to be careful.
Yeah, oh, no doubt, no doubt. But I mean, the town's growing.
No, Chief, I'm
Every once in a
not
while.
questioning what you do, or,
I know.
it's not even I just want to make sure that we all understand.
Yes, I'm roughly half, and
This 400,000 or 500,000 that
passed
we're
on to
adding to the
Zach will be
budget.
another, let's see, 8, 16, 3,200, I mean, 320,000.
Jeff?
Hi, Chief. 2 questions. I'll start with the testing first. I'm all for the testing. The only thing that came to my mind, is the testing going to cause any problems for the members for insurance? For like now, say they find a condition, is that going to cause them trying to get life insurance? Is that going to be like a pre-existing condition that's going to cause them problems to
It's-
get it?
Part of the thing is now, there's a lot of major metropolitan divisions that are using this. A lot of big cities are using it. Down in Florida, a lot of your county, Broward County is doing it. So, I mean, they've been through this. Like I told the union, I says, you have to talk to these people. You have to talk to town council and get all the question marks answered, before we do this. It may take some time to get this done. If something is found, how is it going to be handled? Is it going to be, considered line of duty? Is it going to be considered this,
Pre-existing or
There are
whatever.
a lot of questions to be answered. But the other people are doing it, so it can be done.
Been addressed, yeah.
Right.
And then my second question was about the 4 people. Is that going to impact minimum manning? Is that going to offset overtime in any way? Is that going to do,
Has
is that going
no
to?
impact of minimum manning. It's still, the minimum manning's still 6 firefighters and an officer. And your shift staffing, at full staffing, will be 9 firefighters and an officer.
With these 4?
Correct, correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one thing.
Yep, absolutely.
I just would like to get a clarification so everybody understands. assuming that we go to town meeting, which is gonna be, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now? The contract has been settled. We will do what we've been doing for years and reenact or actually correct the accounting of the money for salaries at a later town meeting, so.
Yeah, we have a couple
So-
articles for that
Right,
exact.
so everybody understands that, and we don't get a lot of oohs and ahs when it happens.
Yeah, I think they're a long way off.
Well,
They've only met once. so
well, it's, it could happen
they got a
tomorrow.
ways to- Yeah,
Okay,
everything's
so, but so
possible.
long as we all know this is how we've been doing business for a long
years.
time,
Yep.
then there won't be any oohing and ahhing when we have to come up with the money.
Yep, always a good reminder, Al.
Question came up in my mind when you say it does not affect overtime.
I said it doesn't affect the minimum manning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now, overtime. Won't this help reduce some overtime if you get 4 new people?
It might.
Are we using overtime to fill in slots?
Right now?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So if we fill them in with.
Their fault.
Well, no, but Chief, it just doesn't make any sense to me that, I
Right.
understand you got overtime because you don't have enough people. Now you're adding in 1 person per shift.
It
Wouldn't
could,
that-
it could, and you'd realize the benefit of that. I'd be turning money back. Keeping in mind that if I get the okay to do this and July 1st, we start the process of hiring, that's still a year away before they're actually on shift.
I'm not worried about timing,
Yeah.
because by the time you train them, there's a lag.
Right.
But eventually, I would hope that we don't have to use as much overtime if we have more people.
Possibly, yes.
I'm just curious, because otherwise, why would you hire more people? Just keep using overtime.
I can do that.
No,
But you only
I'm assuming with the subcommittee, you went through and this is a better deal for the town, or else you wouldn't be hiring 4 people.
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't overtime a stress on your current group?
Well, that's what I want to hear. I mean, if it's, hey, you're stressing out the people, and that's something we got to deal with.
Yes, if you filled lots of shifts with overtime and you had abundance of overtime, yeah, it would tax the employees that are, that are there every day.
Do you have a general idea what your average weekly overtime is?
Not off the top of my head, no, I don't. It's not bad. Right now, it's the quiet time. We hit the good weather. It comes up a little bit when people are using
So
vacation
it's like
time.
it's
Yeah,
seasonal?
it fluctuates.
Okay.
Fluctuates.
Mr. Chairman? One of the things that I've spoken with the chief about, and earlier chiefs, is the overtime for manning shifts versus the overtime that we come up with in the spring when you're running through the forests. No control over that.
No.
And you do have some control over the shift overtime, but if we have a bad summer, a spring,
That's a good point.
there'll be a lot of Daniel Boones running around.
Yes.
Okay?
And
It's a little wet up
I was
there
gonna-
right now. I don't think this is rain.
I was gonna piggyback on that same thing. I can see it offsetting maybe the shifts, but you have 4 more people, so there's 50,000 more in the overtime budget for the exact thing Al's talking about. You get a working box, you get 4 more people that could be responding that you're gonna pay for.
Right.
Any other questions for the chief?
So what's the overall increase percentage?
6.6, I believe it is. Is that correct?
6%.
Or is it? 7.6, I'm sorry.
7.2%. And the subcommittee supports the 7.2?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll make a motion to that
Well,
effect,
just-
sir.
Chris, just a quick question. What is the overtime budget? What's the line item for overtime in the budget, and what was it last year? I just want to get a sense, because I think Al made a very good point.
$468,428.
For just the overtime line?
Yes.
Yes. That's
468?
the same this year.
It's the same number, $468,428.
And the year before that was 418.
And how much did we spend year-to-date?
418 was expended, yes. But also that's, we don't know if in the 19, if there'll be any return anyway, but that was what was budgeted. So he was probably, to be honest with you, if I was a betting man, I'd say he was probably budgeted the 468 the year before as well. And then
Turned back.
he only used, he probably turned back. But I don't quote me on that, but that seems like a,
Yeah, I think Zach will attest that in the last couple of years that we've turned back
yeah.
in the area of $100,000 either
That makes
way.
sense.
All right, good. I think just Al had a good point in terms of hiring 4 additional firemen, that you would think that would reduce the overtime, that's all. Firefighters, sorry.
So I have a motion by Aldo to accept the budget of Department 220, the fire department. Second by Chuck. Any other discussion? All those in favor for accepting the budget as submitted? Unanimous? Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, gentlemen.
While they're here, can we go over that other article, vehicle?
I thought we voted on
I
that.
thought we did it.
I have notes that we
Yeah.
passed that.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we did.
We actually have one other thing while they're here, part of the transfer article that I'm sponsoring.
Certainly.
While the chief is here, I'd like to just go over that.
Absolutely. So that's gotta be either 24 or 25, I would assume.
We'll hand these out, but we just wanna go over that particular component.
Thank you.
Third one,
So this is 25 then,
This is 25.
or a portion of 25.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. I love this. Fire.
Yeah, unfortunately, back in last July, we received our new ladder truck in September on a dark rainy night at 2:49 a.m. The ladder truck was involved in a poorly negotiated turn on a corner. It was very narrow and took a telephone pole down the side of the truck.
You gotta break it in sometime, right?
This is our new truck?
We had to talk Mark off the ledge on that one. That's his baby.
Don't let him drive it anymore, Mark.
Well, he hasn't set foot in the truck since. Unfortunately, the repair bill for the truck is $40,000. It's 100% functional at this point. This is all cosmetic. The whole side of the truck has to be painted, new doors have to be custom-made and installed. Some of the safety systems, this truck has cameras, 360 on it. The camera got knocked off. A few other things need to be adjusted, and the dealer is gonna do it, and the truck will be maintained under warranty because they're doing the repairs on it. So it's $40,000. I have $9,000 left in the ladder truck article that we were gonna purchase some equipment with. Would like to put that $9,000 towards the repair. And talking with Zach, he suggests that I transfer $30,000 out of my salary, wages and salaries, which I'm projected to have a surplus, and transfer that down to a specific line that he's created for the purpose of repairing this truck. So I'll be able to start the fiscal year with a clean slate as opposed to being $40,000 in the hole.
How close are we cutting personal services? When you say you have a surplus, where it's not gonna be close?
In my opinion, no.
Okay.
Kind of the same trend, we thoroughly discussed this, and, we think it's a very safe number.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. I just don't want it,
So a couple
catch it
other-
on the other end where now
I
we're,
do know this committee does not, and I agree with it, does not like to drop surplus salaries down. However, this circumstance makes complete sense. So to hit $40,000 with the chief's fresh budget right off the bat, I think would be devastating to him, for one. Two, it seems that the May-June timeframe would be most advantageous to do so. So in order to do that, we would have to do something now, warrant had closed, and to wait for October just doesn't make sense when we could use existing money and not have to appropriate any further.
so that would be 33% of your budget if you use the 40,000, because you have a $120,000 equipment present.
Chris?
Questions, Jeff?
How long for the repair, chief?
Month,
What are you gonna do for a truck?
Hopedale Medway.
Just mutual aid?
Mutual aid?
Any other questions?
Move favorable action on Article.
I don't think we can do that. I think we'll just
Yeah,
keep
it's the
that
whole-
in.
It's the whole thing.
So we'll do 25 later on, but I want, if anyone has any questions, obviously, before these two gentlemen walk out.
Yep.
And then we'll do 25 later on with the rest of them,
Yep.
with Zach, if that's okay. All right, no take-backs. We let them go, we're letting them go. All right, guys. Thank you.
Just don't let him drive the truck anymore.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. All right, we'll do you quick before the schools, because you're gonna be quick. Okay, I'll check on it. All right, Department 155 IT had a increase in the budget outside the advisory, so I wanted to have Andy come in and discuss that increase. Take it away, Andy.
Sure. For wages and salary, as you know, I have a new technician, Matt, who's, I want to say, he's done a really good job so far. He was Dan's replacement. He actually started out at a higher step than Dan had, so you'll see a slight increase on the salary for that. Also, our license and renewals, it's things we got to pay for every year to keep things running, the systems running. A few of them have increased, such as our Barracuda email filter. We had to pay a portion this year, and we have to pay a portion of it next year to complete our payment for this year. And then we also have to pay for next year's as well. So that's why you see the 12,000, and then the other half for FY19, which is $7,400.
And the subcommittee met with them today?
We
Mr.
did,
Dorita?
Mr. Chairman, and just a couple of points. We actually reduced the number that you have there by $3,500, so their total budget now will be $279,000 even. A major component of that increase, and this is worthy of note, is an increase of $25,000 in a new line item entitled Town Printing Costs. One of the objectives that the IT department, in conjunction with your subcommittee, Mr. Chairman, to achieve was to take all of these printers and all of these departments, they use different prices, different toners, different ink and everything, and consolidate that and make it uniform. Well, this action is a step in that direction. All of the departments, now we've taken the money out of that department and put it into this department, so that the printers, the toners, the ordering of new printers, the software associated with them, is now all under the control of the IT department. Now, the question is, how much money did we take out of these departments to increase his department by $25,000? The estimate is in the range of $32,000. So actually, we anticipate that we will be saving money by consolidating this and having it under one central command, so to speak.
And that's perfect, because as we had talked about with having the different ink cartridges and everything else, and then the printer
licenses,
dies, and then you
right,
can't buy.
You can't get this part.
And then you have 8 ink cartridges left over and all that kind
So
of
it's
stuff.
something we've been aiming for quite a while, Mr. Chairman, and again, this is a step in that direction.
And I've been hearing a lot of positive things about the implementation of it in town hall, so.
Now we have just one blanket contract, maintenance, toner, everything goes through me, and
That's the way it should be.
I know that your portion went down $3,500. What's the total for 155, because we have the schools in there too? With the reduced 3,500?
Correct, 569 total. Keep it 569.
569,000 for the complete, because that also, to remind everybody, that also includes the school portion of 155 as well as Andy's. They had a 0% increase this year as well, just to be noted on their portion of 155. So the total for Department 155, which would be the 279 for Andy, and then the rest of the portion for the schools would be 569,000. So with that, any other questions for Andy regarding IT? I have a motion to approve or accept. Motion to accept by Jeff, second by Mike. All those in favor to accept Department 155 in the amount of 569,000? Unanimous. Thanks, Andy.
thank you very much.
Can you do me a favor, when you walk out, can you tell the schools to come in? Sure. Thank you so much. Mr. Nicholson. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. We did approve sewer last time. I apologize, but did you want to talk about that? Because you asked me to add that to the thing.
Well, the
While
only
school
reason is
coming in.
the subcommittee had not had an opportunity to review some of the individual line items that exceeded the budget.
Okay.
And those are contractual in nature.
Yep,
So the only other note of interest is that, as you know, we are in the process of building a sludge removal plant.
yeah.
And the target date for completion is August of this year. So I'll continue to bring this committee with updates on that as we move
Because
forward.
that's a big project, obviously.
And that is a project that's going to pay for itself in 5 years.
Yep. And that was the reducing of the water levels in
Exactly.
the sludge that would reduce weight cost.
exactly
And then
right.
obviously we pay by the pound, so if we remove the
paying
water.
attention.
I was paying attention.
Yeah,
That was a year ago. And my wife says I don't pay attention.
Ruins you do.
All right, so that actually leaves just one department, Department 300, the school department. They're starting to file in now. The first thing I'd like to do is ask the department, subcommittee chairman, to give us a synopsis. He did email everybody a bunch of information. Obviously, this is our biggest budget, so I'm hoping everybody took the time to look at it. The subcommittee worked extremely hard on putting this together, as well as working with the school administration and the school committee. He also passed out, it looks like he passed them out to everybody, so if you didn't look at it, no excuse now, it's in front of you.
There you go.
So Kev and Joe, why don't you come up and,
That's my spot is coming down to.
yeah, so I don't know if you wanna,
I can start talking
Why don't
while
you-
people
yeah.
are shuffling in. Mr. Chairman? Okay, so appreciate all the help from the school administration and the school committee. We've had many meetings. I've tried to keep the finance committee abreast of what the subcommittee has been doing. Apologies on some late notices and late correspondence, but it's a lot of things that the subcommittee has been looking at, and certainly appreciate Ms. Perry for providing data as we requested, and the superintendent as well. We're close, and we're trying to straddle that line between fiscal constraint and recognizing the dynamic changes within our schools here in Milford. So the school committee approved a budget that showed changes from the fiscal 18-19 budget, then listed out initiatives and items that they would like to have considered for this fiscal year. Hey, Ms. Berry. Our main goal was to focus on what should be in an operational budget. That's a recurring cost that goes towards the education of our students, and what should be in one-time expense accounts, for example. So after going through the numbers one last time with Ms. Perry, the school committee number for the operational budget is $50,680,145. The school committee, the subcommittee of the finance committee's position is $50,550,305. So we are essentially $129,840 apart. But that is really focused on what is around one additional administrative position and some challenges on starting salaries for a few of the other educating positions that we did approve. So we're fairly confident that our position is a fair and reasonable one. When we take out special education and EL spending, our budget that we're recommending is 2.78% from last year. So there was a big number for SPED and EL. As you know, the population's changed, and we have 50% of the students are categorized as high needs. The school population's increasing. We've had over 100 students since the start of the year that are in high needs. That number has increased by as well. That has affected the formula that Milford gets for Chapter 70 funding. And I think a point that Ms. Perry had made in an earlier meeting, that the contribution from the Commonwealth is about 52%. So the increase for the local aid is not as significant because of the increase in the numbers that we're getting from the state. So we're $129,840 apart. However, I know we've done this in the past, and we've had different outcomes, but I would appreciate if the Finance Committee would support the subcommittee's recommendation of the operational budget at $50,550,305, and respectfully ask that the school committee and the school administration accept that number, and we can move to town meeting with a unified position. That's it in a summary, Mr. Chairman.
All right. With that, I'm going to open it up for questions. I'm sure people do have questions about this, and obviously it encompasses a lot of information here, as you see on all the emails that Mike has been sending out, and the subcommittee, excuse me, their detailed reports. So I'll open it up.
Before
Mr.
we go to
Seward.
questions, I'd like to hear a statement from the school committee, whether or
yeah.
not they want to move forward with the subcommittee recommendation or not.
Do you want to speak to the budget first, and I can talk about some of the details, Kath? Just the 695 budget?
Yes, so I know that Mike has shared all our documents with you that we've worked on over the last 4 or 5 months, beginning with our starting number with the contractual obligations and our consumables, as well as our utility costs. And that came in at 4.14%. Which I'm sure you all have.
We're on the same page with that, absolutely.
And we have gone through the process of vetting our initiatives, and our beginning initiatives with principals and directors, as you have all received, was more in the neighborhood of over $2 million. And through our vetting process with the principals, directors, school committee, and school administration, we worked the ask for the initiatives and the impact on our current educational service delivery down to $1 million, and that is at 2%, just over 2%. So our full ask prior to meeting and negotiating with the subcommittee was at $51,152,595. And after discussing with Mr. Schiavi and working with the subcommittee, we're now down to the $50,680,145. And essentially what we did to get to that lower number was agree to eliminate one of the 3 administrators that we had in our request to our subcommittee, and that is the ELA supervisor. However, it does include 2 additional administrators, one at Stacy and one as a math supervisor to help with the math curriculum and the deficits that we have in some of our areas of curriculum. In addition to that, submitted a grant today for a federal grant opportunity for Milford, and we reduced our budget by $165,000. So as a number, I don't want to point to whatever initiatives will go and be applied to that grant, as well as almost $200,000. We're gonna build our revolving budget to incorporate another $200,000. So our overall reduction was $456,900. A little bit additional, because working with Mike, I moved a couple of the other one-time expenses. So our ask is $50,680,145 with the almost $500,000 reduction that we have worked on. So Mike pretty much summed it up.
Yeah, no, Mike, you did a great job summarizing the process, so I want to thank you for that. And it was great to work with the subcommittee. One of our biggest issues this year, which hasn't been the case, I think the kind of running kind of line or joke in Milford is since the 1960s or 70s, we've added 1 student per year. And this year, if you look at our number in 2018, we had 4,186 students. As of April 9th, we had 4,448 students, which is a 6.25%.
Say the number
Can you
one
give me
more
those
time?
numbers again?
Sure,
Yeah.
it's 4,448 students. which
So it's
is-
actually gone up
It's
almost
gone up
up.
since we last spoke. We got 30 kids who are waiting in the Family Resource Center to kind of join.
What was the date and
Was
the first number?
Yeah, what was the first number? Yeah.
The first number was 4186, which is, I think, our October 1 SIMS data, which is the information we report
That's
to the
been our
state.
norm.
So October 2018,
October 20.
like 5 months ago?
No, a year and 5 months ago.
Okay.
So
A year and 5 months.
That's October 2017 then.
October.
2017.
I'm sorry.
2018.
It should be 18.
This fall, yeah.
This is
So
nice.
not,
It should be 18,
That was
yeah.
1 year, one year ago.
okay,
So 2 Octobers ago.
okay, so
40.
2017.
I just gave you the wrong. So as of April 9, it's 4,448 students, which is a jump of 6.25%. And I've only been here for 6 years, but I've never seen, we've fluctuated about 50 students. I've never seen this kind of an increase. I don't know if it's a one-year aberration or it's gonna be part of a broader trend, but that puts us up, well over 200 students. And, we've had to make adjustments midstream this year that we've never had to do before. We've had to, shift classes at the middle school and the high school to just accommodate the growth. And so I worry if, our ask that we're putting forward, and we're seeing just huge numbers in the middle school, close to 1,100 students at the middle school, over 1,200 students at the high school. I worry that if these trends continue, we're gonna be in trouble next year. And I can't predict, like, people moving in or coming into Milford. We did a long-range projection from an organization called NASDAQ.
Yeah.
And they said, was it 10 years, we're gonna be down 50 students, was that the? Yeah, so they said over a 10-year period, we're gonna be down 50 students. We're already up over, 250 students right now. And,
I wouldn't pay their bill.
well,
I'm kidding,
I know,
I'm joking.
They do stuff for all of
No,
them.
I'm kidding.
I know Chris is kidding. But they're reassessing based on just this, and we've never seen anything like it before. And it could be a one-year aberration. I'm worried if it's a trend.
Yeah, so when we spoke what, 6 weeks ago, you were at 4380.
Yeah,
So we've gone up almost 70 students just in the last
correct.
6 weeks. What is driving
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this? This is
Good question.
insanity.
I think there's some political situations in Brazil and a couple South American countries that are, I think, leading, some families to leave those places. I think we've gotten a lot of movings. It's hard to say at this point. We're still analyzing because we're living it in real time.
And my follow-up question is the school committee considering shutting down school choice in, understanding that they have that option, and that's 200 and something students that they could make up for it, for this group of students that we have to?
Yeah, so one of the things we do each year is we look at each grade level and we either open it or close it to school choice.
Yeah.
And with the changes this year, which has never happened before, we do that basically the spring before. So we're in that process right now, kind of looking at grade levels. And we very well may say next year we can't take any more school choice
Yeah.
in because of just.
Sounds
the
like you
growth.
need to, just
Yeah,
based on
just
the
because of the
capacity.
growth of residents who are attending schools. So this is a real-time issue we're facing that's happening, month to month. Like I said, we've got 30 students coming in. And what typically happens is our churn rate, which is the number of students that come in versus the number of students that go out,
Yeah.
is usually pretty close. And that's why our numbers have been relatively consistent. If you look over the last decade, we've been somewhere between 4,100 and like a little under 4,200 kids, give or take. So, my kind of, I almost want to say alarm bell is that, if we see a similar kind of growth next year, we're gonna come to the community with a different kind of an issue. If we see because that'll be 10% growth over a 3-year period, which is incredible for Milford. So that's the only reason why I would appeal to the committee, and one of the reasons why I would appeal to the committee to kind of really consider what's the number with the adjustment, the 50 million?
50,681,45.
145. Because I can't, at this point, I can't anticipate what's gonna happen next year, because this year has been so unpredictable for us from just a population perspective.
If you were to halt choice in, the current choice in students would continue,
We'd have to keep, we'd have to
grandfather them.
right? And
Unless they choose to
is,
go back out.
is there a state initiative underway, or at least discussion about assisting school systems that are overly burdened? Could you bring us up to date on that a little?
So, yeah, I think there's a few programs in place. One was, I think the federal grant that Kathy was speaking about, which I think was the 165,000.
Yeah.
I think our chapter 70 increase was 7.7% to reflect, I think the growing high needs population in the community. So we get actually additional funding from the state for students if they have a special need, are economically disadvantaged, or are an English learner. So, which is part of what the Foundation Review Committee did at the state level. They wanted to recognize that in communities that are seeing increases. And we're one of really just a handful of communities statewide that are seeing, I think, this kind of population increase, which is really unprecedented for Milford. And our high needs increase. Like over the last 4 years, our high needs percentage increased, I think, 17.8%. From, I think it was 44.1 to 51.9, so somewhere in there, a little less than 20%.
But to your point, Mike, the problem is that.
We're always a year behind in the
We're
funding, too.
So Chapter 70 is always a year behind on the enrollment funding. So they go by October 1 of 2018
Right.
for the budget for 20. So the
Okay.
kids that we're taking in now, we won't see that revenue for another full year.
Yeah, but Kathy, we keep going over this Chapter 70 nonsense. It doesn't affect the school.
No, but in terms of just the additional revenue for the town
For the
and
town it
offset
does,
your.
but I'm
So,
saying-
Mike asked the
Yeah,
question, what's happening
that's
from
all.
a state
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say,
Right.
this will not affect your budget
No,
at all, because at best, we get 50%, it's always 47. Even if it goes up 2 or 3 points, it's still nowhere near the burden. So the school choice thing, we have to just be clear that the town will benefit, or it will cost less, but it's still, we're paying over half. My biggest problem is I hear words that I haven't heard since 2003, when the school really put a hurt on us. Level services. That rate's right up there with 2.5 override in my mind. Because, no, this is, if we're gonna have an increase because of 200-some kids, if next year that number goes down, do we get the money back? Didn't before. Okay, whenever, I remember, give me $1 million and I'll fix the MCAS problem. And we sat there like little fish and we said, okay, here's $1 million. Okay, the MCAS problem.
Is that gonna work tonight, Al?
I don't know. But I'm just worried.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever hear my personal,
My worry, though, Al, is, I'm just concerned because I haven't seen this kind of growth, and I've looked back, 15 years, and I just haven't seen this kind of.
He's right, could go in.
look back 40 years, you haven't seen this
Yeah,
jump.
no, I know, so it's just, it's concerning to me, because I don't know if it's an aberration. And again, we have 2 large classes, we've had those 2 large classes since the kids have been in
We've
kindergarten,
had
first grade.
ups and downs,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not 200.
Well, it's actually more than that right now.
One correction, Mr. Correa, the Chapter 70 is about 52% now,
Okay.
so we're over half.
But again, it doesn't affect them at all.
It only affects the town.
It affects
It's the
our
local
overall budget.
contribution change.
But, realistically, when Chapter 70 went down, we didn't cut their budget. When it went up before, we didn't give them extra.
No.
I mean, we absorbed that as a town. The other thing is, I'm a little concerned hearing we're shutting down school choice, or we're considering that. I mean, we're already hurting in school choice.
Well, what we always do with choice in numbers, Al, is we always look at the number of kids in a particular class. And like 7th and 8th grade right now are our biggest classes. We haven't accepted kids, school choice kids in those grades since they've been kindergarten and first graders. What we always look at too is like, what are the class sizes? And we don't want to bring students in at the
Agreed.
expense of Milford students. And that's really what the analysis comes down to. I think right now we have about 123 kids in. I spoke to the city yesterday just to kind of get a sense of that number. I think it's about 123.
Yeah, and Mike, when we talk about Chapter 70 going up, I'm shooting from the hip, so I don't know the numbers. But I remember years of us increasing sped ELL 800,000, 600,000.
100%.
Okay, so
And again, this
Chapter 70 has never kept up with what we as a town have invested in sped and ELL. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I think that says something about our community, that I've always said, these kids are no more special, but no less special than the rest of the 4,000 kids. I'm a little worried when I start.
44-48. I'm just teasing.
Okay, 44-48. I want to see what happens when the number slides down. Because, yeah, you're right, I'm one of the ones who remembers that in 1974, that high school put out 222 kids. Last year was 260,
Give or take.
so 40, my 45th reunion's coming up, and we're up 40 kids.
You might be down a few, I think. We got
Yeah.
a few in there.
Okay. I just worry, and I really am serious about this level services thing. Because that means we're never eliminating anything we added. We're always adding on new. And that is troublesome to me.
Well, I think the bigger issue though, Al, if I can just respond to that question.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is our typical student is getting more expensive to educate. Because we have just a higher percentage of high-need students. So that's driving that number more than anything else.
Okay.
Jeff?
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
yeah, all right, fine.
Question, the thing that concerns me, especially given the 4,448 students, budget's not closed yet. You know, I know one of the initiatives we talked about, we need a science teacher because, I don't have the initiative, so I don't know the number, right? We had 50 kids that couldn't take a science class, so we needed to add a teacher. Makes perfect sense. You have 200 kids. Do we need a teacher? Do we need a teacher to offset those kids rather than we need 129 for an administrator? You know, do we need, where are those kids gonna go? How are they gonna fit into the, they're not going away. So how are we gonna address that?
So we've got a few teachers within this request. We have a science teacher at the high school.
Prior to the 448, prior to that 4,000 number, that 4,000,
Correct. We're anticipating growing numbers at the high school just because the two big classes are hitting their age.
Yeah, they're going
over
up,
the next 2 years. So the first big class is going to be freshman next year, then the freshmen and sophomores will follow those. We're anticipating higher numbers at the high school regardless. The grade 4 teacher, we've had, I think there's a historical reason for that, but there's one less teacher in that grade level, so the class sizes are a little higher for grade 4. That's really gonna
Made
offset
sense.
some of those kids. We have an EL teacher memorial, just because those numbers are shooting up, and they're going to reserve about 45% for kindergarten right now. So we just require the services.
and I don't think the subcommittee had any question on the services for that at all, you know, so now you have these extra couple hundred kids. Do you need staff, do you need teachers to offset those kids above what you asked for?
Well, the thing is, they're not all coming in at one grade level. I would say, next year we'll be making a request for a social studies teacher at the high school level, because we have a similar issue like we do with science. We benefit from that, and we spoke about that as a subcommittee as well, at least one of the meetings. I think the request for administration seems like, I think we're trying to and I'm not even sure how to couch it, but the needs, and I don't know, Craig, if you want to talk about the two positions we're moving forward, and just explain kind of the value.
Sure.
Why don't you take my spot for 1 second?
I feel like we've talked about it.
You're not asking for
But
teachers.
maybe not with the full committee.
So,
You're asking for a supervisor.
thank you, everyone. So, we're looking for a math supervisor, because we're looking for a specific math content and expertise so that we can align our curriculum K to 12. We're also looking for that person to, add some supervisory role to math, being a content specialist, having specific expertise in math. We're hoping that a math supervisor could align that department and get everything going in the correct way in math. The other position is the Stacy Associate Principal, and we're looking for the Stacy Associate Principal to focus more on the curriculum instruction at Stacy Middle School. So right now, the ratio of teacher to evaluator at Stacy is about 35 to 1 or so. So each administrator has about 35 evaluations that they have to do on teachers. On top of that, the assistant principals are also have 600 kids apiece, or just about. So it's very difficult for assistant principals to do both jobs well, honestly. And if you think about it, it's a lot to manage. So we're looking for this person to focus more on the teaching and learning, so that the other two people could focus, yes, some on teaching and learning, but also the management of the building.
Phil?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I was surprised by the increase in enrollment. That's a huge increase. But I just want to go back to Chapter 70 a little bit. I know the state has changed the formula, and I'm just wondering, is the 7.7% increase, is that a function of the new state formula?
Yes.
Okay, but it's based on students that are dated 2 years ago. So we should get, I would suspect, we would get an increase in Chapter 70 next year because of the increase, 2021, yeah.
Plus the foundation budget reserve, if they were to fund a third year. We are hearing 5 years it will be fully funded.
Okay, and what was the increase in Chapter 70 funding, just for my own information?
Right now, it's at 7.7%.
Yeah, what about in dollars?
It's about 1.9 million, give or take. I can figure it out for you. Give me 1 second.
Okay,
I can give you the exact number. But that's
Yeah.
what you're right now.
okay,
So
but the,
19, if you want it, Phil, I
Yeah,
can give you as a
yeah.
whole number. In 19, the Chapter 70 amount was $24,933,124.
yeah,
And right now, the House budget's at $26,847,209.
okay. I'll let
Based on the
you-
$51 million budget proposal, right, yeah. So
Yeah.
that'll get adjusted based on what the final proposal will be.
Okay. I know the Chapter 70 money goes into the general fund, and I get that, but increases in Chapter 70 are real dollars. They are real dollars. So if we get a 7.7% increase, and the 1.9, is that it has to be an increase over last year, right, Kathy?
Yes.
But again, those increases are real, and they're not, and it's not something that we should lose sight of. because
Totally
they-
agree with you.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Before we
Excuse me.
do any more questions, I just want to ask quickly, because I know that two people of the subcommittee were surprised about the total number of students. Mike, were you aware of 4448?
I think we knew it was somewhere around 4,300 last time we had a
Last we
meeting.
met was.
So I just want, you guys obviously should take into account, but whatever you deduced as your number, that they're saying that there's 130 kids more than,
Right, we're working off of their proposed budget that
Yeah.
they submitted.
Okay.
Right, with what they envisioned for the next year to be.
okay, I just want, keep going, Bobby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank God we're not Franklin. As I understand it, you pointed out, Mike, that the difference between the budget they submitted and the budget that your subcommittee is recommending is rounded off $130,000. I don't know the exact number, but I think I would be on pretty safe ground if I said the school choice, your school choice account is in excess of $1 million. Was any of the school choice funds used to offset any of this requirement this year?
Yes, we put certain items into the account.
How much?
Out of the, so in my, we're looking at 200, of all the initiatives that they'd requested, there was $217,450 in the revolving accounts, school choice account. and the revolving.
Say that again, Mike, I'm sorry. What-
217,450,
So would we,
Did
did
you
we,
use out of choice?
and the choice and the other revolving account, right, Kathy? Yeah.
did we go
What's
back
the
to the
other
committee and
revolving?
ask for another $130,000 out of that account?
Well, right now, when you mentioned the $1 million, Bob,
I don't have the exact number,
That's-
Kathy.
No, I'll use the million.
Yeah.
We do have encumbrances on that fund from now until the end of the school year.
Uh-huh.
So it's not gonna finish the year with $1 million.
Okay,
We
what-
do have an operating budget against that account.
And what would you estimate that to be?
I believe we will finish the year with a rollover of 600,000, which is our goal to carry over the current year's revenue. So we've already moved and discussed as a committee to build that number with these initiatives of almost 200,000.
And you're locked into that, you won't go back and work with the subcommittee to see if we can bump that number up a
So
little
what we
bit.
try to do, Bob, is we try to put just one-time expenses in there.
Yes.
Right, you don't want to recurring,
Yeah,
I
you don't
understand, I
want-
get
right,
that, I get
right.
that, but I'm sure there's some one-time expenses in there. where
You know,
could-
we've taken, Kathy and I, and this committees, we've gone through the initiatives that are in the operational budget are really positioned as, that would be recurring year to
Really?
year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just heard two really good additions, and that's what scares me. Level services. We know that we budgeted $180,000 in account 155. That was for one break fix manager, similar salary to our municipal, and two break fix techs, similar to the people we hired. We've only ever put in one break fix person. So again, level services, since we don't have the other two, when does that come out of the budget? That's what scares me. We put it in, and we got $130,000, boy, that sounds like a familiar number, sitting in 155 that was never used for break fix. I don't know that there's a plan to use it for break fix.
So 155 is outside of the operational budget though, correct, Al?
Well, it's in the town budget. I don't know, Zach, you'd have to help me.
School
It's not
operational
part of-
budget.
It's not part of what we presented today. I think it's a separate line.
that as a level fund.
We submitted that as a level fund this year.
But that's my point. We put it in 3 years ago because we thought we needed 3 people to do the IT work in the district. 3 years, we've used 1. But we don't take it out.
We have the instruction specialist as well as the technician from down at 155.
The instruction specialist, the educational person,
Correct.
that was never a break-fix person.
No.
You know, with all, with,
Outside of-
But it's managing the phones, the networks,
Right.
professional development contracts that are all connected to technology.
and that's my problem. We add in, but why didn't we take out if we don't need them? That would solve this whole problem.
That is the salary line, 180.
But it's supposed to be for 3 break-fix people.
2 and 1, I
Kath-
thought it was 2 and 1, Al.
Well, 2 worker bees.
Right.
1 manager, supervisor.
Right.
2 plus 1?
Correct.
3. This is my problem. I mean, we throw stuff in, and we say, well, Craig has 2 great ads. Okay, well, how about the ones we never used and apparently never needed? If we needed it, we would have hired those people. And that's what bothers me. Everything goes in, it's always building off the incremental, adding on an incremental. When do we go back and look at what initiatives that we tried and didn't work? And we're doing it on the municipal side. We put in a program that was gonna save Zach all sorts of time and energy. 2 years later, when it's about to be renewed, Zach came back and said, save me nothing. Right out of the budget. So I'm having a hard time with this.
Can I answer just one question from Phil earlier, just to give you that number? It's 1,914,085 is the difference of chapter 70 from 19 to 20.
Yeah, and what was your budget increase? This year, last year?
Right now, it's a 5.24%.
No, dollars. It should be right around 2 million, right?
253,971.
Yeah, okay. So I understand we have a choice account with a deficit, and I understand we don't fund health insurance through the school budget,
100%.
okay? But again, the increase in chapter 70 is 1.9, which is pretty close to the increase in their operating budget, just as a point, okay?
Yeah, but Phil, that's supposed to cover, that 1.9 is an increase in what we invest in the school. Okay, the health increase, the mortgage increase.
Yeah, I understand. I do, but other departments, we pay for the health insurance and any debt as well.
But they have to state a lower increase.
Well, we just gave the fire department 7 point.
And we did that with the fire department, and we also got a salary increase on top of that coming. So it's gonna be higher than the 7.7, or whatever it was.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, just to Phil's point about the chapter 70, I know there was an increase in that, but I thought the net increase to the town impact was still like $1 million. Like, 'cause I remember last year, I don't have the sheet, but last year the impact to the town was like 265, something like that, but then this year, oh, thank you, Michael. Yeah, so last year the impact was 265,919, the local impact this year is $1,082,000.
How was that?
With the budget in chapter, So I don't get your math, but I get what you're saying with the math, but this is the sheet that's the local impact with the chapter 70, 1,082,000 is the local impact of
Yeah,
the budget.
Kathy, you want to help us with that? I can't, I mean, I look at your, if the increase is 1.9 something, and your budget's going up 1.9 or
That will go
2
down
million.
if that goes down.
Jeff, I think that's also the original.
But is that Zach's
Yeah, that would-
numbers? Because
Yeah,
Zach's
but-
numbers take
Yeah.
everything we invest in the school.
Yeah.
Okay, what Phil is saying is if you took out, 40% of what we pay, then it covers it. That's the price, like, if I didn't have to pay my mortgage, and I didn't have to pay my car payments, and I didn't have to pay, my finances would look real good. Let's not kid ourselves. If we're doing this, it is an increase. It's not covered by Chapter 70. It's never been covered by Chapter 70. This year, we're excited, it's up to 52%.
And there's never an expectation that
That it would.
Chapter 70 would cover the
Right.
budget. So that is not even close. But again, an increase of 1.9 million is a lot of money.
Sure.
And it goes a long way in terms of covering their budget, irrespective of health insurance and debt service and choice account. Just making the point.
But Phil, the years when it didn't go up 1.9, and we still had to come
You know,
up with
that,
800,000.
it's, you know, Al, I've been on the school for 20 years, and it's never gone down, okay? And the Chapter 7, because our demographics have never improved either. And it has never really gone down. We've had years where it's been level, and we've had to make some cuts to
But that's what I
maintain
mean.
level.
Even if
But
it
it's never
stayed
gone
level.
backwards.
Even if it stayed level and we have to fund 800,000 for this and, how much is the school
understand.
budget?
So
Woodland,
this is at
a year? I mean,
300,000. It's because this number.
it's serious.
That it changed.
I'm having a hard time with 130,000 out of 60 million.
I know it.
I can't believe that
Well,
we're
I
having
think
this
that's,
discussion.
I think that's a good
Over
point, too.
$130,000.
That's the issue,
that's
not
what-
Chapter 70.
Respond to one of Al's questions.
Yeah, that's a good point,
The
Phil.
question that you asked, and this may not turn out to be a helpful answer. When you work in schools, what happens when you notice, different time of year, is you start building a budget in October. And when you ask teachers and administrators to start building a budget in October, that they're going to need a full year later than that, it's very difficult, because it's not as easy to predict what you're going to need, what's going to be available, and who our student population is, case in point with all the students that are moving in. So I think that sometimes when we make an assumption that we're going to use money in good faith and with a lot of good data behind it, there may be decisions that get made about how to use that money over the course of the year because things have changed, the situation has changed. So there may be some incredible professional development that we say, we have a problem, so we're
Absolutely.
gonna solve that problem. So I think that that's one of the trickiest parts about building a school budget, because it's really made it almost 13 months in advance of when you're actually going to use it.
And Jen, one year, I agree with you 100%, okay, 100%. But I took one example of 3 straight years. I would think if it happened 2 years in a row and nothing's changed, I could probably predict that it's gonna happen again. That's my only issue. And again, we're talking, we need 138, we got 130 there. I mean, there's gotta be a way of fixing this.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
130,000 out of 60 million, come on.
0.2%.
It's actually out of 50 million now, but that's beside the point, so. Well, it's really about, it's really about a fiscal constraint here. So when we talk about the fire department budget going up 7%, what's the total dollar value of that $200-something thousand, right? So when you, but the school budget's that much bigger, so when you put real numbers behind it, it's a bigger number. And so from a point, taking the guidance from the finance director, what the budgets were supposed to try to be around when they came in for approval, we've made an accommodation that's gone above that. I know Ms. Perry likes to talk about how she's come down from a proposal, but what we're doing is coming up from the guidance that the
It's a
director has
negotiation,
given.
I understand.
Right. So that's kind of where
You
we
know
are.
Kathy starts at 6, 8, 10% every year, and then cuts out and gets to the numbers she wants. That's, I shouldn't say every year, only the last few years.
It's not her first rodeo,
I
you
think
know?
people have been talking about the two positions, because I think when you add them up, it comes to a certain amount of money where we may be off, the assistant principal at Stacy and the
Yes.
math coordinator or math leader. And I just wanted to read this very short quote from the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, which says, "A single mathematics education leader can have an incredible impact on the development and effectiveness of others." Leaders in mathematics education at all levels of the school or district organization are crucial for ensuring attainment of high-quality school mathematics programs. And we've talked a lot about what is it, we feel that we value that particular position, and I do really feel like we all value that particular position, because we need improvements in our schools. We need support. We need not to send teachers to this conference or that conference. We need sustained support in the district to help our students thrive and to help our teachers be the best educators that they can.
Right.
And the same thing goes for the position at Stacy. We really need support in that school. We all know that middle school years are the most challenging.
But Jen, we're not arguing.
But I guess I
We
just wanted
agree,
to-
the way you're running the school, I don't think one person has said, how many rolls of toilet paper are you spending at Woodland? We used to. We did away with that. How much electricity? Can't you turn the lights off? We did away with that. That's why you're elected. We trust you. We're protecting the typical budget, the budget for typical kids, by funding special needs separately. That's a conscious decision as a town of Milford. Because some towns, as you mentioned, they give you an X number of dollars and say, that's for everybody, which means you know sped is gonna outstrip it. So the typical kids are gonna suffer. The only question is candidly, I'll put it on the table, how come we're talking about 130,000? You couldn't figure that out? And you can say 50, but Zach, if I ask you for the exact number that you submit to the state, I bet you it's a lot more like 60 than 50. Am I wrong?
Well,
Okay.
But the 130 would be a bigger number too then. Because that's, well, see, because we're directing it towards a position that they requested that
Oh,
we.
yeah, but it'd be a lot bigger of a deficit number because you'd have to take in all the other things.
Sure.
I guess my question is,
Not a burden number.
why are we doing this? There isn't a compromise that we can deal with?
Stay away from any salary. I think when we talk about adding, this committee has been incredibly generous, and you're right, no other town does it this way, with the way that we support our Ls, we support our special education students. I do think it's unparalleled, and we all benefit from that, all of our students do. But when we start looking at our students who are potentially leaving, and wanting to keep our students here in Milford, saying that we support special education instruction and ELL instruction isn't enough. And when I look at a level service budget, you might interpret it one way, and maybe we interpret it the same way, I don't know, but the way I interpret it is level service, we keep everything the same. And right now, I think in this school district for $130,000, we can't afford to keep everything the same for typical students who need better math instruction, who need to be in a place where we have people who are leading and developing learning for all students, not just our Ls and our special ed students. They're a very important part of our population, but I want to see us really growing, even if just by $130,000 to support all of our students.
But you're not growing by 130. That's the, above the growth. Okay, if we were only growing $130,000, I'd be saluting you.
No.
I think that we're sticking with it, and I guess I just want to.
I wanna make just a couple quick comments before. Everybody's made a lot of good points, and if I may jump in. Right now, it looks like, besides ELL and, SPED, you guys, or our proposed budget, which yours at 130,000 on this budget isn't gonna change this percentage very much. You're talking about 2.78% increase. How many people do you employ? Around 700. So, in my mind, just as an example, when we get to Articles, I think it's 17 and 22, which are collective bargaining agreement articles, in order to supplement both Vernon Grove Cemetery and police, when they do through contracts and they increase, we supplement their budget. We don't do that with the schools. They absorb steps and lanes themselves. So I'd like to point out to everyone that 2.78% is with the steps and lanes.
Yeah, that's true.
That they are picking up the tab on. Whereas on the police and Vernon Grove, with their steps and lanes and union negotiation contracts, they come back to us. So they may come in at 2% on their budget, but then they come back to us in October or May and say, I need to supplement that with X amount of dollars. So when you look at it at the end, their budget went up more than 2%. And and the other thing that I asked is how many people? When you're talking about employing 700 people and absorbing 700 people's steps and lanes, it being at 2.78%.
Wait a minute, Chris. I thought this was above the 3%. You're telling me this is 2 point
Just
something
after you-
percent?
So this, I
Yes.
mean,
Their operational budget.
Operation, we're not
2.78%
talking about
spend ELL.
mortgages,
No, no.
because that's separate. We're not talking about,
I'm
Just
sorry, Mike, why don't you answer the question?
Mr. Chairman, okay, so in summary, the budget increase from last year before initiatives is a 4.14% increase, and Kathy said the same number, so we're aligned on that, 4.14%. Then, they had initiatives that the school committee has approved. So their budget would be 5.24% above last year's. Let me finish. Then if we take out the special ed and EL increase of $886,916, their increase is 3.4%. Now, if you take out the special ed and ELL initiatives that they want to put in, their budget increase is 3%. The 2.7 is my number. Their number's at 3%. So that's how you come from what they've increased. Then you make those points about ELL and SPED, and they're requesting a 3% increase when you've taken into account the SPED and the ELL. Our position from the subcommittee is 2.7%. So they are really going up
oh, yeah.
5 what did I say before? Right, 5.24%.
Yeah, they're going up more than that with everything else.
Contractual.
No, no, no.
No, that's it.
everything.
That's the number.
That's with
That's the number.
That's
the
with
ELL, that's
everything.
everything.
Their number goes up 5.24% with all of the increases.
For SPED, ELL,
The whole
and,
shebang.
Whole thing.
not whole shebang, because health increases and.
Well, you can't, we don't
On
do
the
that.
operational
We don't.
budget.
Operational.
Yeah, every, yeah,
All right.
the health insurances, we
So
do
the
the same.
whole, getting from 3% to below 3% is 130,000.
Yes.
Yes, must be.
And it's 2.78%, yeah.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
I know it.
You can't find somewhere between 0 and 130 and 60 million bucks?
Our issue though, as you know, Al, is over 80% of our budget is tied up in personnel. And we've got not a lot of flexibility beyond that in terms of, we've got maintenance, we've got electricity, we've got.
Absolutely.
To your point, Al, there's nothing between 0 and 130 that we can't find either.
Well, okay, maybe we both have to compromise.
Maybe we can do something with the 155. Maybe we do something with the school choice. I mean,
No, school choice, Bobby,
Yeah, we gotta keep.
years ago, we agreed, that's part of their spend. We don't want to hear about it. 'cause it
years
kept-
ago, times change.
Yeah, but realistically, I agree with you. There's 130,000 in 155 that hasn't been used for break fix. Maybe there's room there.
You are using that though, because they have the 2 employees. They have the, not a teacher, what is he? Director, and then, and then technician.
How about we meet somewhere in the middle halfway? Give us 100, you keep 30.
Heard this right?
That's at the middle, Joe. Where the hell is your map?
He's also Milford High School grad.
Yes, I do
We
need
need to
a
put
math
more money into the math program.
That's why Craig says they need a math teacher.
Yes, thank you. Jen, you said something before, and no one's talked about it here. You said you want to keep the students here from moving out. It's going to come up at town meetings, so we might as well talk about it here a little bit. Are you telling us that these initiatives are going to keep kids from choicing out, and what's the plan for that? Because no one has talked about that, and it's going to be asked.
It's a great question. I think that the 2 impacts of this administrative position, one is I think it's an additional, I should say, administrator at CAC is going to improve the culture department. But I think there's going to be more families to enter into Stacy, stay at Stacy, stay from the high school. I think the mathematics piece is, you know, from an MCAS business perspective, if we're looking at an ELA position and a math position, we're much stronger in ELA.
I agree.
Our deficits are greater in mathematics, and I feel like that'll have a big impact within the next few years in terms of, kind of the point that Jen just read in the quote, because it's gonna coordinate curriculum both vertically and horizontally. We're gonna look at instructional practices in the classroom, is putting a full-time person on it 24/7. Craig is, I think, a phenomenal assistant superintendent, but he's responsible for kindergarten, physics, you know, reading, Spanish, everything in between, and obviously spends more time on ELA and math because of the recast areas. But to have someone focused on it full-time is gonna have an impact, a positive impact. I think both of those things will positively impact choice in the long run. I think we've leveled off there. I'd like to see it kind of decline at a faster rate in terms of the choice out. I think these two things will be steps in that direction.
And that's, I think, for me, that's what I'm trying to understand, and I'm not alone there, I know, so that's,
Yeah.
we need to get our hands
No,
around
it's a
it.
great question.
We review. Chris?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob.
It's okay, just one comment. There was some discussion around the table about other departments that have come in over the recommendation and the guidelines, and that's our responsibility. I think the difference is here is that you've got a subcommittee that is recommending a certain amount. In those other instances, the subcommittee drilled down on the numbers, did their due diligence, vetted the questions, and said, this is our recommendation. In this case, it's different. We have a subcommittee that is recommending a number different than a department. So I think there's a differentiation
Oh,
there.
there definitely is.
Just as a point of fact.
And that's why one of the things that I pointed out earlier was the number of student increase, that the subcommittee was aware of that, and I hope that they take that into account too.
Right. But I mean, 130,000, come on, gang, let's go back to the table and find some money here. This is,
Is there a number you could live
we're better than this.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Can I ask one more question too? On the $165,000 for a grant, I'm reading Mike's summary here, which is a great way to fund it. But if I read it right, that's gonna be automatically positions for operating budget next year. It won't be part of the initiative, or, because it's an initiative this year that got talked about, that got scrubbed out because of the grant, but now you're saying that's gonna be operational automatic next year? I have a concern with that.
That is true. So the funding right now is not being made available for next year. We are using this grant to offset our ask for 2020.
Can you identify those by specific line items when the subcommittee sits down with you next year? Or is it gonna get buried?
Absolutely. No, it's essentially, to the superintendent's point, it's essentially the immersion that we're experiencing with all the new EL students. So we have identified some of the EL positions that will be earmarked to that grant.
They will be identified next year as coming off grant.
Yes, it'll be fully disclosed.
Okay.
Because I know, and not, this whole committee hasn't heard, but Mike expressed a lot of concerns about where's the line between social services and the school. And that's,
Yeah.
to your point, right? So that's,
And we're living that question every day.
understood, no, understood, but
Yeah, I'm looking at that 130,000, and, you know, my concerns about you moving in the direction of more and more social services, moving further away from your educational mission statement. And I look at the 130,000, and I think that at some point there, you do need to draw back from your focus on social services and focus more on educational criteria.
Yeah,
And I think that could come out of that 130,000 in general terms.
Yeah, so if I can comment on that, just really quickly, just broadly. We're seeing more and more students that, we're required to meet basic needs, so they can just access the curriculum. So we've added like, and again, this is with partnerships with community organizations like the YMCA, to offer, you know, lunch programs in the summertime, dinner programs at the youth center. There's just a lot, we're just seeing a lot higher issues and needs than we have, and that's increased even in the time I've been here in the last 6 years. So I think, I understand what your point is, but we've got a lot of students that are struggling just to access the curriculum at a very basic level without these other needs being met.
I have to think, if you were faced with a really hardcore budget ceiling, that it would probably be some of the social programs that would have to go, if you had to make some hard choices.
If we were in a situation of cutting, we look at our core academics first and work out from there. That's what we would do. So you're not entirely wrong.
65,000, and the subcommittee will probably vote for favorable, otherwise.
I like Joe's math, to be honest with you.
I'm sure you do.
50, 130.
If we took out one of the 155 people that you haven't used in 3 years, is that a good compromise?
Well, Al, honestly, I believe our full tech budget, the 155, is already expended, and it's committed to programming and the 2 positions.
It's 3 positions.
Yeah, it was.
But they used 2 to.
Kathy, with all due
hire
respect,
It was always
I was
3.
there when we created it. I could give you my exact notes. It was 250s, 180. It was 3 people.
Yeah,
Bobby, you were there,
yeah.
okay?
I've got the
Now,
notes here.
we never,
I don't remember being held to, I think it was a allocation to be spent on technology, yeah.
No,
no,
no.
no, because that's when we were gonna put the 2, before the urination contest about IT occurred, it was, we were putting 2 together, which was 2 people in town and 3 people over there. So, compromise, awful close, take 1 out of 155. Take 40 grand out of 155, the most junior player. Close to your math.
Take our
Right now, the
Split it down the middle and let's get out of here. Yeah.
so that would be
But you had a director in there.
I thought their recollection of that was that we were able to
don't know.
level with that money because the
Absolutely.
director can't be hired for 80 because the market rate for director is at least 100, if not more. So I might be wrong on this, but I think.
No, you're
it's-
right, but it was never envisioned when we funded it as a director. It was a manager. Then you all came back and said, we'd rather have an education director.
Yes.
And we said, okay, we're not gonna get in the way of that.
Because that is, I think that continues to be the need of the district.
Sorry.
Well, that was one way I could think of compromising close to Joe's number.
I'm good. Make a call.
I just don't
Yeah,
think
I
that
know.
money's available right now. I think it's already being, I think that's the issue. I think if it was there, we would be flexible with it. I just don't think money's available.
Okay, it's time to.
See this,
Say it
not
again?
getting
I'm with you.
support for that kind of 0.1%.
50
I mean, I guess I would just say, considering the growth that we're showing, considering it's a small amount of money, is there an alternate way that we could come to a compromise for the 1/3?
Bake sale?
But wait a minute, it's not just 130, let's be fair. The 2.5, we knew,
Is the total for the operational.
2.5 is what the request was. We're going up now saying, well, the difference between 3 and 3.1 is 130. But with all candidness, it was 2.5. So, as Mike said, they've come up from 2.5. You've come down from Kathy's 80% increase. Okay?
Bobby?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't think there's much more to be gained by any further discussion, so try to move this thing into closure. I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the school committee budget as recommended by the finance subcommittee in the amount of $50,000.
50 million.
$50,550,305.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just a quick point of order, do we get to vote on a number, or do we have to vote unfavorable or favorable on?
You would say that you're not gonna accept their budget.
No, the motion has a number.
Right.
No, Michael, the motion is for a specific number. We have a choice of yay or nay on that number that he just proposed.
Okay.
Well,
At least, that's the way the motion's made.
Correct.
before we vote, and like I said, I cannot believe the work of the subcommittee did. It was absolutely fantastic. Investment in our town is important. And the fact that we're sitting here about 0.2% for 130,000, and we even had a deal that they'd even come down to 100,000. We have to.
Is that the deal?
We have to invest in our town. And I think if we went up $100,000 and they came down $30,000, I think that would be a good compromise. But I am not gonna,
Before I vote, is that the deal?
they can't make deals.
Is that the deal you're willing?
I'd be comfortable with that. Dropping 30,000.
I mean, you can't guarantee anything. You gotta go back to the school
Yeah,
committee
we
and
have to go
vote.
back for a full vote, but
But
I'd be comfortable with
are you
that.
saying that you would be willing to go fight for that number?
Are you good with that?
No, I'm gonna stay with my number.
Okay, no, that's fine.
The reason why I'm staying with our position is twofold. Number one, because of how the budget was lined out, we accepted everything and the salary increase, retirements, whatever, shoots and ladders, steps and levels.
You've been hanging around with him too long.
No, it's a school, so I use shoots and ladders. You know. And with no question at all, for SPED and ELL. The way that we were presented the budget, it showed the positions that they would like to fund and people they'd like to hire for the next year. And we basically accepted just about everything, except they wanted 3 supervisory positions. And I'm looking across all of the departments. What other department is increasing their supervisory staff by that percentage of people? So I thought we needed to take a fiscal position that the $90,000, which is the full proposed salary of a new person, was a bridge too far for us. They did eliminate 1, they wanted 3. We agreed to 1, and they've eliminated 1, so they're at a position of 2. Then, the other challenge is, what is the starting salary for those other positions? So we basically took a 10% challenge on what is you're gonna hire these people for. And the reason why I say that is because the likelihood is that they're not gonna hire it for that much anyway. That what the starting salary of a position for, so say the $90,000 Stacy School assistant person is, right? But what if the starting salary of that person is actually $68,000? Well, they had $90,000 approved in their budget. So they've already have that money that can fall to another place that they can use it. So I asked for a challenge of the positions, 10% of the positions that we agreed to. So 1 supervisory position and a 10% challenge on the positions we agreed to. Bingo, $130,000 is what it comes to. Not a bridge too far, I don't think. So,
Can I make one comment on that piece? Typically what we do for positions that we have open, for teaching positions, we set it at 60,000. We originally, previously set it at 55. We're just not finding first-year bachelor's degree people realistically. So we bumped that number up because it's more realistic to what we're seeing at 60,000. The EL supervisor, grades 3 through 5, was at 75,000. Typically, we would put a position like that at 60,000 because we often have internal candidates that move in those positions. Right now, we really don't have an identified pool, so that's why that number is at 75,000. And 90,000 is actually very low for an assistant principal position. It's like 68,000 would be somewhere like a 4th or 5th year teacher would make, give or take. And so we'd never hire an administrator at that level, just for like full disclosure to the community. I understand where you're coming from, Mike, but I just wanted to share
Okay.
the methods were met.
no, I understand. I know there's a complete method, and I don't disagree with it. I just take a fiscal position as the subcommittee, finance committee chairman.
Yep, absolutely, we should. All right, so there was a motion to accept a budget of, so Mike's exact number.
$550,305.
There was a second by Mike, I think, Nicholson. So all those in favor of accepting a budget of $50,550,305? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3.
Abstention. I have to recuse myself. I can't vote.
It's the total budget. You can
It's the
vote
total
on this.
budget. You can vote. On the
You can
total
vote on this.
budget,
This is the total
you can
budget.
vote. You can't vote on individuals, as a number of us can't.
Yep.
But on the total budget, because, Phil, if you don't vote on this one and you vote on police, fire and all, you're voting on this one, because if we have
Yeah,
100.
that's fine, that's fine.
But everyone has the right to do whatever they want to do. So, I apologize. Andy was up. Joyce, Chuck, Sue, Phil? You still abstaining, Aldo?
Yes.
You're voting? I am.
I'm gonna vote for, because I'm gonna put a motion back up to rescind it,
All in favor?
to reconsider it.
Okay. I guess Al has a plan. Yep, so I guess that was all in favor. No, I'm against.
We
so
need opposed. How many opposed?
I'm opposed. Yeah. Any other opposed? Just me? All right, so the floor is now open.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider that vote. The reason being that I think a compromise is in our best interest. And I'd like to take your motion and just increase it by $100,000. So I'm putting a motion on the floor. The only thing, I had to vote for it so that I could be one who votes to reconsider it, or makes the motion to reconsider.
Needs a second.
Yes.
So what's the number?
Whatever Bobby's number was.
50 million,
plus a hundred.
50 million plus 100 group.
$50,650,305.
I'll second with a couple comments. My second is mostly driven by this. When the subcommittee reviewed this budget, we were looking at 50,550,000 for 4,375 students. Comes out to $11,554 per pupil. Now we're at a population of 4,448. Proposed budget from the school at $50,680,000 comes out to $11,393. So yes, a decline per pupil just in the last 6 weeks from our original recommendation. So therefore, Al, I would be happy to second your motion for $50,650,305.
Any other discussion? Jeff?
My only question would be, how did the 100,000 help those 200 additional students? I hear what you're saying with the math, I can do the math too. How did it help those students? Didn't.
Well, I
Didn't
mean,
do
it's up
anything.
to the school
There's
committee
seven
to
people.
make adjustments to their budget. Once we vote on it, their budget is autonomous, so it's up to them to make those adjustments based on the increase in student population.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Before you take the vote,
Yep.
does the motion to reconsider require a majority or two-thirds?
I can't remember. I would think it's a two-thirds vote.
I cannot remember.
We're gonna add more than
Neither
two-thirds.
can I, that's why I asked.
That came up with the bus issue.
I think it's two-thirds.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is it two-thirds?
I think it's
Is it
two-thirds.
two-thirds, Mike?
Okay. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you would need to have 4 in the affirmative, 7
Seven.
in the affirmative. All right. Any other discussion on the motion to reconsider the budget at $50,650,305?
I just want to mention that they had mentioned 100 on our side and 30 on their side, and I mentioned splitting it at 65, to which there was no response. I don't understand why we're jumping to 130.
I'd be okay with any compromise.
Well,
I call the question.
Yep, all right, so also, all those in favor of reconsidering the budget and the amount of $50,650,305, all those in favor?
No, the motion has to be to rescind the vote.
Reconsider.
Reconsider,
I
I'm
didn't
sorry,
say reconsider.
reconsider. The
Not
motion has
rescinding,
been moved and
reconsidering.
second to reconsider. You have to take a vote, a vote on the
To
reconsideration.
reconsider. All right, we don't have 7. All right. That's it.
Final numbers, 56,5305. 50,653.
No, $50,550,305.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Are we going with the additional 100,000 or we're not?
No, you're not.
Subcommittee's
No.
recommendation.
So if you guys can work on something before town meeting, maybe we can have another meeting.
Or, what is our alternative? To take it to the town
Floor
meeting
fight.
or
Take it to
go
the,
with-
take it to the town meeting, yeah.
All right,
You gotta go to the bathroom.
thank you. Thank
All right,
you.
guys, have a good day.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. So did Joe. So did Joe.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
You did.
They did. It's not an easy budget.
Oh, yeah, do you want this?
All right, so we got some articles to do. Rick and Zach, can you guys come up and,
Do you not want to do those two that I don't have notes?
we already did them.
We did?
We did one of them and the other one, we're not doing anything else.
But we still have to vote tonight. I refer then.
No, because there's no referral because it's him. we're just gonna have no comment on it.
And then they wouldn't take any.
He's gonna help me with that.
Yeah, I will. So at this point, we have Article 4. Do you have, is he doing the number? Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure he's doing the number. All right, great. All right, so let's get to Article 12, the Selectmen article.
I think it's legal, or maybe the suit.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to hand out the funding schedule?
Yes, you put it online, but if you have them in paper, that'd be
All right,
great.
the only thing that would obviously change would be the top.
Yep. Article 4 is
I
gonna
think we
change.
understand.
Yep.
What article is it?
So Article 12 is the Insurance Advisory Committee and the Board of Selectmen. No. We didn't, to be honest with you, with Zach not here, we didn't do any of them. You can skip it if you don't have.
What do you got? I'm sorry.
Article 12, the insurance.
Oh, I'll handle that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. So, Bill, you were here when we presented Article 12, the insurance change with Kelly Capisi, Benefits Coordinator. She wasn't able to be here tonight, but this one's pretty simple. I think it's overdue. It has to deal with surviving spouses. This is an OPEB kind of deal, other
Yep.
post-employment benefits. A surviving spouse of a retiree, currently in the situation, they can continue on our health insurance, but at a cost of 100%, so no split on the town. The Insurance Advisory Committee had met, and one of their asks, not demands, one of their asks was to go to the Board of Selectmen, this committee, ultimately town meeting, to see if they could sponsor having a change to ultimately allow surviving spouses to continue on the health insurance, but at the same contribution rate, which is 50/50. Correct. If this were to pass town meeting, it would have to be a election. What do you call that?
Ballot question?
Ballot question, thank you. Projected costs approximately at this time $30,000 per year. As we know, we have decent surplus in health insurance because of the versatility of it, so I don't think there's any need to go out and allocate additional budget, but there is a real cost associated with it, potentially $30,000 per year.
Mr. Chairman,
Aldo?
you're talking the spouse of the deceased individual,
Correct,
not family.
not family.
So it would be a single plan, and they're gonna own 100% of the,
Currently, they can at 100%. This change would be looking to continue at the same rate as if the spouse had not passed away. Yes.
Wait.
Just to be clear.
And also, I want to be clear, because I just got confused when you said just a single plan. The point is, if they're on a family plan and they die, they can continue a family plan.
For that to be a likely scenario, it's an unlikely scenario, I put it that way. But we're talking,
How is that
you're
an
already
unlikely?
retired, you know, so at that time.
Oh, and you're already retired.
Yeah, this is
I'm sorry.
retirees.
I'm sorry. Yep,
Yes.
my fault.
So these are like your typical tough supplement
Yep,
plans
yep.
that are 50/50, not the 70/30%.
Yeah, and they're not having kids when they're
Yeah,
70 years old.
Exactly.
Okay, yep, that's
Exactly.
fine.
That's
All right.
It's even more of a reason, if you've got a widow or a widower
Yes.
who has a small child, you know, they're taking care of a grandchild or something, boy, they need help more than anybody. And I have no problem at all
Yeah.
covering, you know, somebody who's been a town employee forever and their spouse, or they have a young child. I mean, you know, people marry younger people.
Yeah, it can happen, I'm saying.
You
it's
can, but I mean,
typical,
the
it's
odds are gonna be
unlikely.
one or two
Yeah.
here or there, but
Yes.
for the one or two,
Yeah,
that could be a huge.
yeah, I'm not saying it's excluding family, I'm just saying the likelihood is.
Oh,
typical.
okay, I'm sorry. I was understanding that it
No,
was
no,
excluded.
no,
All right,
no.
then I don't have,
Yeah.
any other questions on
Yeah, just-
Article 12?
Yeah, Zach, just to be clear, right now, the surviving spouse would get zero benefit. Under this new plan, the town would pay 50% of the single premium.
You got it.
Okay, I just want to make sure. And it's not a budget item, because we're just funding this for, you know, future payments down the road. And just to remind everyone, we're setting aside, I think, this year we had 650,000. We set aside, again, for future liability, but it's not a budget item, okay?
One other question, Mr.
Yep,
Chairman.
absolutely.
I dealt with this in my former position. What happens if the surviving spouse remarries?
Gone.
And that's a reasonable possibility,
Yeah,
because people are retiring younger and younger all the time
Yeah.
and live longer and longer.
correct.
Now, does the town still keep that person on the rolls?
I believe the answer would
I
be
mean, the
yes,
answer
but
to your-
but no, not with a family plan.
No, it's
That
not with a
individual.
family plan.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, no,
it's
we-
with an
we get that.
individual plan.
Yes,
That's what we're saying.
yes. I believe the answer is yes.
Could you check that, because that seems
Yeah.
odd. If I'm on with a family plan and I get married, why would you revoke my right to stay on as a family plan?
Do I have to?
You know what I mean? That seems odd.
Don't know what you mean.
Okay,
I think we're
I'm a
turning
widower.
an abnormality into the norm here. I think the
Okay.
main, like, maybe that could potentially happen, but it's not the situation here. We have right now, I think, 10 people that this could be applicable
Yeah.
to.
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
I have a motion for favorable recommendation on Article 12.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Jeff, second by Chuck. All those in favor? Unanimous. Article 13, Water Company.
How much are we paying for this?
They're gonna tell you in a second. Article 13, Water Company.
Yes, this article seeks some $285,000 to basically conclude the water company case before the DPU. There's a need to hire, or to retain a real estate appraiser, which is an additional cost for additional work. We do have an increased
13.
expense for our consultants to do our engineering, as well as for our legal team, Brown Rudnick. So this, again, is looking into an appropriation of $285,000. As the committee knows, we're now in the process of the discovery stage, rebuttal testimony. Hopefully that will be done with an evidentiary hearing in May. And basically, the issues are what they've been: valuation formula, value of real estate, and depreciation method. That's the crux of where the DPU hearing is at the present. Experts came to us, the legal team, this is what they need, it was evaluated, I think this is where it was discussed. And that would be the crux of the article.
So this committee knows that you were at that, we gave some serious pushback. We knew asking for additional funds is not gonna be desirable, for lack of a better term, but it seemed imperative that, given the rebuttal from the water company, that it was extremely important for us to seek additional valuation techniques in order
The water
to
company's
get a
throwing,
favorable figure.
the water company's throwing everything but the kitchen sink against us. And we can't go this far and get an undesirable number on the end because we couldn't challenge their witnesses with our professional witnesses and that type of stuff. It doesn't feel good, but we're in the end game now.
Doesn't feel good, but it does make sense, it really does.
Yep.
Do we know what the bill is yet, the total? So how much have we spent on legal so far?
Over $1 million.
8 or 9
I have
hundred,
that
Money,
number in front
more
of me.
money.
1.2.
I was just gonna say 1.2.
1.2.
This is worse than Benjamin Board, then.
This is for
Any other questions regarding the money, Mike?
So when does this actually go to trial or whatever, and we get a final decision from a judge?
Expect the evidentiary hearing to be next month. I think it's on track for that. After that, there's, typical with legal proceedings, there can be additional briefs to be filed. It technically goes back to the SJC, the Supreme Judicial Court, where the final determination is issued. And as always, there could be some appellate rights in there. Unlikely that it will be concluded by the end of the year, or shortly thereafter.
You're saying unlikely?
Likely by the end of the year, probably early.
We should be prepared for sooner rather than later, but the likelihood of us getting into a serious discussion will be this time, right now, next year.
So-
Maybe.
So I'm
So
confused.
this may continue to go up as they appeal or wherever.
I do not expect that. As Zach said, there was some serious pushback at the hearing again, Chris attended. We kind of said, look, you know, we know what we're gonna face when we go back to see you people.
We want the
And
total,
town
we
meeting.
want the total
So
number.
this is the expectation, is this should be it. I
Mr. Chairman, I
would
thought
hear
that
that
the,
Take my life on that, but.
I thought
Don't,
that
please
once
don't.
they decided not to agree to the price, that it went to the State Department of whatever,
Yep.
Public Works or whatever, then they would
DPU.
determine the price, and that was it. There was no appelling feeling after that. So you're saying that this is,
There are some appellate rights. Remember, it doesn't just go, there are issues that were being challenged, such as the valuation method to be used. That's a big sticking point.
I thought once it went to them, it doesn't make any difference what? They have to make its final decision.
They
So-
can't appeal the sale, but they can appeal the price. Or we could appeal the
They
price,
can appeal the price, but that.
not the sale.
But they are the final say, but they do have the right to, the water company or us would have the right to appeal the price, not the fact that it's gonna be sold.
I thought it was that this is the price, and either you want to buy them or you don't want to buy them.
For us, we have the ability, if we don't like the valuation set by the DPU, we can say, thank you.
Right.
We will continue as
Right.
always. If we do like the price, when I say we, town
Yeah,
meeting,
right, of
or it's
course.
less than where we were at before, okay, the water company, no, is boxed in. They have to sell.
They have to sell,
They have to
right?
sell, that is correct.
Yeah,
We
if
have
if
the
it's less than the
option.
64
Remember,
million.
I think town council meeting, we had special legislation that was pushed through that gave us
up in court,
the
no
option,
matter
if you will.
Trying to
You're
make it
correct.
as unpalatable as
If we like the
possible.
price, town meeting votes for it, we will acquire the water company. That doesn't mean there aren't some procedural appeals that could be made, but not to the price, correct? Yeah, I don't, maybe that wasn't clear.
I did just have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff was good enough to circularize the article on the Hingham Water Company for 100.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I did read it too, and, you know, for 114 million, which is, I mean, it takes a lot of income to fund that purchase, okay? And, but is there anything that we can gain from that ruling as to how they got to that determination? And is anyone looking at that? Because that's something I would really want to look at, just to see what's behind that.
I'm sure we would be looking at that and analyzing that, especially where if you read the article, it very closely parallels.
Yes,
Felt like it was
what we're
deja
going
vu.
through.
reading
Yeah, I
the
did,
entire
yes.
article.
Taking Hingham out and stuffed in Milford, and
right.
very much parallel what's happening.
It's very likely that the DPU will gonna be looking at that as their direct comparative.
Well, right, because you got comparative data right there, so they're gonna be,
So
they're gonna
that
be
is very
influenced by that
relevant
for
to
sure,
them.
yeah,
Very relevant.
yeah.
So I
okay.
don't want to speak for Phil, but I think what he's coming at is, why would we think they would have a better outcome? They came in at 114 million. What makes Milford Water Company less valuable?
Well, there obviously could be hundreds of different factors going into it, size, price.
Hingham
you
and
know.
two other
Yes.
towns.
But the premise is right.
So it's Hingham and two other towns.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
so it's a much
He's the
larger
only one that got the
enterprise.
vote.
I don't think it's a much larger system,
Well, real quick,
but the premise is, you're correct, what, you know,
one quick comparison.
why is it gonna be different for us,
Their
I think is
approved budget was
a valid.
$13 million. What we had a couple of years ago was 4. So if you do a quick ratio of budget to cost and apply it to ours, we're looking pretty. Now, will that happen? I don't know. I doubt it, but we'll
Okay.
see. But
Saw that too.
other factors come into it.
Yeah.
All right, and there are, you know, a lot of things going on that could change the outcome of this, so. But do I have a motion to accept, for a favorable recommendation on Article 13 for funding for litigation for the water company?
I'll make a motion. I don't know how we stop now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll
Motion by
second.
Jeff, second by Phil. All those in favor? Unanimous?
One no.
In for a dime, in for a dollar.
All those are adding up, man.
Almost like buying the armory.
Nothing personal.
All right. Article 14, geriatric. Debt for the geriatric.
Yeah, basically, this is an article that will eliminate the requirement to
They're already
make
winning.
geriatric to make payments to the town in lieu of taxes. as you may or may not remember, this was voted and approved at the October 2007 special town meeting, but for whatever reason was not submitted for legislative approval. So we're basically just rectifying a situation that wasn't done at that point.
Remember, that's when we used the woodland loan and money, right? We used the.
No.
No, this is way,
No.
2007, yeah.
Yeah, back in 2007, a vote took place to eliminate the pilot, payment in lieu of taxes, from the geriatric to the town of Milford. And to Rick's point, it passed town meeting, that's evident, but looking at the special legislation documents that should have been filed, and quite possibly could have, but there's no proof that they were approved by the state. All we're trying to do here is reaffirm the vote, get the special legislation
a redo.
signed by the
It's a redo.
state.
From what year was this?
2007.
it was actually 2007.
So what are they currently paying?
Nothing has happened, it's just to put it on the books officially,
Well,
which
they
in
can-
my mind it is, but it's just,
Okay, all right, I totally.
They were paying taxes 2006.
yes.
Correct.
In 2007, we said, this is silly.
Town meeting agreed.
We're not going to tax
Yes,
part of, unofficial part of the town,
yes,
if I remember right.
you remember, right?
So they stopped paying taxes in '07. We've never gone after them for
No, we haven't.
taxes. We don't intend to go after them for taxes, so this is just a paperwork thing.
Right.
It's basically
Yes.
collected.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I apologize. So I have a motion on Article 14, motion by Mike, second by Mike. All those in favor for favorable recommendation on Article 14? Unanimous?
Live in there someday, so.
Soers and Schiavi. Article 15.
Says pass over on here.
You gonna pass that over?
That, there's gonna be a request to pass that over. We do not see that there'll be a need for that.
Perfect. Article 16, funding for the police chief selection committee?
Yes, as you know, we do have a police chief selection review committee. We will need funding, or they will need funding for expenses as they go further. For example, advertising, publication. If and when the candidates are forwarded, they would have to be screened both for
Corey.
query check, background check, et cetera. The number, as Al was asking for, is $50,000. I think back in 2001, when we look back, I think we
It's 25,000.
appropriated 25.
Yeah.
So
And
that's-
obviously, whatever isn't used
We'll
will
go back.
go back.
Who will dispense the money? Who will approve the expense and allocate the money?
The committee will have to
Vote.
You're gonna
Vote.
give them the money?
no. The money would obviously.
All right, I'm on the committee. We need $12,000 for A, Y, A, B, and C. To whom do we make that request?
You'll vote it, and then it would, more than likely, it would come to Rick's office to actually
Well,
make the expenditure.
more than
but,
likely
you know,
doesn't
it-
wa-
It'll go through the AP process,
It'll
just
go
like
through
every
the warrant,
warrant. You
yeah.
can't hand you money and say, do what you want with
I
it.
understand that, that's what I
That's
wanna
what he's
know.
asking.
Yeah.
What's the process going to be? There has to be one individual or department that's gonna be responsible for the distribution of the funds.
The committee has to
My
vote
office.
to,
No, it's just like every other.
That's all I wanna know.
Yeah, okay.
doesn't the committee have to vote to allow the chair of the committee to sign the invoices rather than having a vote on every invoice that comes through by the whole committee?
Right now, you'd have to have the majority of the committee sign it,
Would
but
sign off.
I would like to see out of the Modernization Act, they allow the chairman through a vote to be the sole signatory, as long as in the following meeting, any bills are brought for ratification to the full committee, so
You-
hopefully they do that, but we'll see.
You better have
I'll make a
a
notation.
fallback position.
Yeah.
Zach, you need a fallback position in case,
In these situations, my office will
No,
not
no.
process anything without majority
if you
signature.
say one specific individual is responsible, if that person is not available for whatever the reason, you need to have a fallback.
Yeah, you'd have a vice chairman for that, yeah, or whoever they designate, but,
Or a full vote.
Yep.
At a subsequent meeting.
exactly.
Getting signatures is not a big deal, all you need is a quorum.
Right. Much like we do with,
Yeah.
right, with
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Jeff, second by Andy. All those in favor for favorable recommendation, 50,000 for Article 16, unanimous. Article 17, collective bargaining for cemetery employees.
Yep, we have the Union Milford Cemetery employees. we would be looking to provide retroactive payment back to July 1, 2018. $6,500.
Any other questions? This is obviously to supplement bargaining between the department and its union workers. Do I have a motion? Motion by Aldo, second by Chuck. All those in favor for favorable recommendation on Article 17? Unanimous. Article 18, oh, no, sorry, 22, I think is next.
Collective bargaining with police.
Yep, police collective bargaining.
Similar situation
Yep.
here, obviously we need to
Excuse me.
fund the police collective bargaining agreement. I believe this one also is retro to July 1st, 2018, and it's $156,441.
1564
$441.
441. Any other questions regarding this? Same deal. All those in favor for a favorable recommendation for Article 22, in the amount of $156,441. Motion by Chuck, second by Phil. All those in favor, unanimous. 23, snow and ice. Did we get any, was it 206,000? 205. So snow and ice deficit in the amount of 205,000. As we typically do, we try to clear that from free cash at the town meeting in the amount of 205,000. Any other questions? Any discussion, excuse me?
How different was it from last year?
Lower.
Significantly less, right?
Way
lower.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a very desirable year,
That's a
so.
great
Yep.
idea, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone have any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Chuck, second by Andy. All those in favor? So that was Article 23. Article 24, special article account.
This is for closing out open articles.
Oh, yep.
Aldo has a
Yeah.
printout
Pass
there
it, I'm sorry.
that I want everybody to get.
Take one.
So basically what this is I reviewed all the open articles that the town currently has in place. And I reached out to all the department heads that have ownership of these articles and had a discussion about what they plan on using any remaining balances. Some of these articles haven't even been used in the last couple of years, some have. The list that's being passed around now,
Okay.
after discussing with all the department heads, they've approved the closing of the articles, and there's 20 articles there listed. And the total of the articles that we're able to close, and that we have approval to close, that money will be going back into the general fund, totals approximately $214,000, as you see. Some of these articles are old, so right now, having reviewed all the open articles, we're within 5 years of all open articles. So anything older than 5 years has pretty much been closed out.
Absolutely.
I told Tom, go get them, and he closed out.
That's absolutely, that is
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
good. You can cover the 200,000 on your spreadsheet.
What's that?
You can cover the 200,000 on your spreadsheet.
Okay, so, yeah.
Great work.
Thanks, Tom. You said you talked to all the department heads?
Yes, yes, everybody, and then, and believe me, they pushed back, they wanted to keep it on
Yes,
just
they
in case. But,
Yeah,
and I give you examples like which the fire chief was wonderful, they bought the $100,000 vehicle, there was a little money left over, he gave it back to us. The rescue truck, they need another tool or two, there was a little money left over for that, he kept it, he's gonna purchase it, but for the most part, yeah, we were able to get buy-in from most of them, and that's the amount, which is almost, it's over double last year, so.
So just one item that kind of concerns me, or two items actually, is from the school department. Did you speak to the superintendent or the entire school committee?
What are we talking about?
Business manager, Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy.
Pardon?
Kathy.
Kathy.
But what I was about to say before you asked the question, we've been really strong with reviewing the wording of the articles and knowing it before we even go after them. So if it was a brand-new vehicle, I know you bought the vehicle because I processed the payment, so you can't do anything else with it. So we kind of forced their hand before we even know if the answer is yes or no. So in those cases, they purchased it, we've seen it, it's game over at this point.
Well,
you
I
know?
just wanna make
I love
sure,
it.
because
I
years
love it.
ago, people were diverting.
And that's what
I
it
got
is.
100,000 for my playground, But I do need a door.
Correct.
We just want to make sure that, and I have no problem with them going back to town meeting, asking for more money, but we want to make sure that only what the town meeting agreed to is spent.
And they came back to us and offered, can we use it for this?
No.
And you know what we did? We went back to 2012 and pulled up the article as it was voted upon and explained to them, no, you can't, it specifically state you cannot use it for that reason, so. That's right.
Do you happen to know what the total amount was for the Stacy Fire doors?
Yes, I do. The Stacy Fire doors, the total appropriation was $98,555.64.
Did well
Payment was
there.
$44,646, and that project is done.
Okay.
We even got a request to maybe use it somewhere else, you can.
I just wanted to make sure we don't have
Reappropriation.
unsafe doors that Stacy's still needing to get replaced. So if they're all done, great, we're done.
I move favorable,
I just-
Mr. Chair.
One more question.
Oh, yep, absolutely, Joe.
I see the Draper Park lighting for $9,000. I know there's discussions about the park going on there, so they were good with giving that back?
Yeah, we know that the selectmen created this War Memorial Committee, and there's more work that's gonna go into it, so it made, the new park director, Jimmy Asmus, it made no sense at all to go forward and take care of this now, just for the sake of doing it, when they had more asks and potentially more that would be coming down the line.
Just roll that into the ask.
It made perfect sense to close this out now and roll it into a one full ask.
We asked that question when they came talking about capital, was that, are they gonna, redo the whole thing, which made more sense? Because it was a concern of ours that you're gonna put all this wiring in, and then you're gonna go do a bigger project and rip out some of the wiring you're putting in.
Yep.
So we went through that at the capital subcommittee, just to make sure that it's only being done once.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It was just a time more of a coordination type thing, but I wasn't sure how the funding was gonna go. But it makes sense to roll it in together to one thing. I'm good. Thank you.
Me too.
I have a motion by Aldo for a favorable recommendation on Article 24. Do I have a second? Second by Jeff. All those in favor for a favorable recommendation on Article 24? Unanimous. Article 25, we've already had that. It was handed out by Zach earlier today, in which he covered one of the items in transfers, the fire department. Does anyone have any other questions on any of the other transfers?
Mr. Chairman, real quick, so just can we go back to the last one for just a second?
course, absolutely.
Is that $213,084 drop to free cash then?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we're getting our change.
Yeah.
Drops into
snow
the
and ice.
formula of free cash.
Yes. the formula for-
That was a deficit, are we? Yeah, covers the snow and ice. Perfect.
So as I mentioned, Zach had already covered the 30,000 for the fire department. There are several other transfers, none of them as big as that. Actually, that's not true, the highway's got one.
The highway's 27,000, it's within their own budget, that's one of those restricted line items by town meeting for repair and maintenance. This is a good thing, it's coming from within their own budget. As you can see, the majority of these are, some of them go from someone being out on surgery and needing to have a replacement to the chump change of $240 there just to square up on a small purchase. But other than that, it's,
Anybody have any questions for Zach on these
There was
transfers?
one item that Scotty took off his capital list that's been programmed for a couple of years, because he said he could cover it inside the surplus of,
is that the garage doors?
yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's not this particular transfer, no.
No.
Any other questions on transfers? Article 25? Motion? Motion by Mike, second by Bobby. All those in favor for favorable recommendation, Article 25. All right, Article 4.
Article 4. There we go. New number. After that last vote. $107,920,788. Wait a minute, Tom, is that correct? Sorry, I got like 1,000
What'd you
pages
say?
on me. All right.
Say that again.
One more time. $107,318,498, or a grand total of 3.5%. First time below 4 in a number of years now. Well done.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we went over each one of the budgets, concluding obviously with the schools tonight. So I need a favorable recommendation, Article 4, in the amount of $107,318,498. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mike, second by Mike. All those in favor for Article 4? Unanimous.
Which mics?
Which mic?
Soers and Schiavi.
Does it make a difference?
All right.
Diana crazy.
One last article.
I don't have notes on 11 and 18, did we?
We're gonna do 11 right now.
My 11 is.
All right, gentlemen, thank you guys very much for all your hard work all year long, your whole department, Rick, Mike, you and the board, all that stuff.
You made
getting
a
all the
great
stuff
job with Article 4 this year, very impressive, appreciate it.
All right, have a good night, guys. Article 11.
11.
Get off our table.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
You going over and vote on it after?
All right, so for the record, I am recusing myself from this vote since I am the sponsor of this article. I am seeking a favorable recommendation because it does have a small impact on the budget. My article proposes that we increase the number of selectmen from 3 selectmen to 5. So selectmen get a stipend of about $8,000 or so. I don't know what the exact number is, but 2 additional selectmen would cause about an impact of $16,000 to the budget. Just to give you a bit of background information, we are the largest community in Massachusetts with only 3 selectmen. We're only one of 4 communities with 3 selectmen and a representative town meeting. Typically, those go hand in hand. If you're large enough for a representative town meeting, you're large enough to have 5 selectmen represent your board. You know, and that's just some background information. I don't necessarily think those are necessarily arguments for increasing the board of selectmen from 3 to 5. So I just want to go through a few things that I think are reasons for increasing it. Our elections, right? Whenever you have a one-on-one election, there tends to be a reaction of the candidates to try to go after each other. We look at the school committee, we have, 6, 7 candidates running for 2 or 3 seats. They're running on how they can best serve Milford, not why the other guy sucks, right? They're saying, this is why you should vote for me, not why you shouldn't vote for the other guy. So I think increasing the number of selectmen, you'll have 2 candidates typically running. There'll be every 3rd year where there's only 1 spot, so you'd have a one-on-one, but otherwise you'd have more. But I think generally you'll add a little bit of civility to the elections. Diversity, you look at other boards with 5 members, they tend to have much more diverse makeup of the board. We have a very high immigrant community, we have a very high minorities, and obviously, I'm going to guesstimate that about 50% of the town is female, and yet we don't have any representation from those groups. So I'm hoping that, with the increased civility of the elections, where people will be less intimidated by running, and maybe perhaps put their name in there. I do think there's a little bit of gain in efficiency. With more selectmen, you can assign the school assigns liaisons, for instance, for each school. With an increase in selectmen, you might have a similar model where you have maybe a liaison to a department. There's also conflict of interest. Right now, we have at least 1 selectman with a conflict. And they can't vote on that department, right? And if you have another selectman elected that can also not vote on that department, you essentially cease to function. And this happened just a few months ago where the selectman could not vote on an executive session, and another selectman was absent due to illness, and they had to reschedule the executive session. So that was a one-time event where the illness will go away and, they can proceed with business. But if you have a second selectman elected with that same conflict, you essentially cease all business as far as that department goes, as far as negotiating for budgets. I'm sure there's an alternate
This
process.
goes to referendum, doesn't it?
After
Yes,
town meeting,
I'll-
yes.
I'll get
This
to
will
that.
go to referendum.
Yes, sir, yes. So that was actually my next point, was even if this passes town meeting, it'll go to referendum at the 2020 town election. If approved by the voters there, then the following election in 2021, we would vote for additional selectmen.
Mr. Chairman. Mike, are you all set?
Yes, that's my presentation, thank you.
I'd make a motion to give it a favorable recommendation, not because I really believe 5 is gonna be better than 3. I served on a 3-member board some years ago, and we seem to function properly. But ultimately, it's going to be the town of Milford that decides, and I don't think I'm gonna decide for the town of Milford, nor is this town meeting gonna decide for the town of Milford.
The voters, yes.
Town of Milford will decide for the town of Milford. That's the way it should be. So, because I will probably say no, because I'm not unhappy with the 3-member board. But that's me. And I'll have my chance to say yes or no at the town election. But I don't see any reason why we wouldn't give this a favorable recommendation, put it out there, and get it to the public at some point in time.
Great point.
So I
Aldo.
would move favorable, Mr. Chairman.
I second the
I
motion.
second, yeah.
30 seconds.
For the very same reasons.
Yeah.
Any
good-
other
good
discussion? It wasn't favoritism, it was because Aldo made a good point.
Just one question, just one.
yeah.
que- Like, what makes you think that we're gonna get better candidates, more candidates involved in the politics, just because it'd be more civil? Is that what the premise
Yeah,
is?
no, I mean, I'm using other towns as a basis. You look at other towns with 5-member boards, you see a lot more diversity on their boards. I'm not saying that necessarily will happen, but I think it increases the likelihood of that possibility. So, I mean, I think right now we have a great Board of Selectmen with 3 very good members, and I think a lot of people maybe not, they don't run for that position simply because they're like, look, I can't, challenge so-and-so, right? Because it's seen as a one-on-one challenge. Whereas when there's 2 seats, it's not a one-on-one. I'm not challenging the seating incumbent. I'm presenting myself as an option. So, and that's why I think it would encourage more people to participate.
It's a nice thought, Mike, but politics are politics. You can't shake that stick and not come up with politics.
No.
Thank you, Mike. I'm with Aldo on what Aldo's bringing to the town.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Soers? It's late. All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor for a favorable recommendation on Article 11? Unanimous. Oh boy.
Great, thank you.
Mike, remember, you put your name on a ballot, you're a politician.
That's right.
That is.
I thought we sent him away.
We did, but we didn't have any ruling on it whatsoever. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the town meeting articles and budgets. Goes without saying, I really appreciate everyone's hard work and everything they did all year long just to get this budget together. Between department heads and the hard work that you guys do is the reason that we can have this town run as well as it does and still be able to not tax our elderly and lower income people out of the town, so.
One thing, if I may,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman. Anyone that's interested in having their name placed in nomination for one of our offices, let me know, because I'm the one who puts together the ballot, politician.
Yeah.
Do you envision a
Are you
meeting?
gonna be on it, Aldo?
No.
And before we adjourn, I just want to point out one thing. If anyone is available Friday at noontime down at the senior center, one of our members is being honored as the senior of the year, even though he's not really a senior.
Thank you.
Which is a really great recognition.
He's a senior.
Who's that?
senior.
He, Mr. DeVita.
Mystery man.
Oh, my God. Cook for that, too?
You know, he doesn't, they won't make him cook for his own.
day off, I'm gonna take the day
So, no, I just want to acknowledge, because I know I go down there and do some of the stuff, and, Bobby, it's amazing what you do down there, and you're well deserving of
team effort,
of
it
that
really
recognition down there, so.
T-Tap's been pushed up.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I will swing down at noon to see you.
Please do, thank you, Mr.
With that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Chuck, second by Andy. All those in favor, unanimous.
I oppose.
Thank you and have a good night.